Hey, Rodney here again. Hey, I want to welcome you back if you're one of my subscribers. If you're just somebody that's just watching the video for the first time, I appreciate you taking the time to watch it. I want to talk about my first 2 weeks of ownership experience. I mentioned in videos before, if you haven't already seen, I am a salesperson for Toyota. Been in the automotive industry for about 24 years. And so some of the stuff that I talk about is just from, real world experience. And the other is some of the directions that I think that Toyota is going in. And so I'm going to mention a couple things. There seems to be 3 topics that come up frequently. Number one, a lot of people don't like the idea that they went away from the V8. Well, I get that. And there's a couple things. And just speaking of past experience, the V8 was a proven engine, but it was not fuel efficient. And so a lot of people didn't buy that vehicle specifically for that. So Toyota needed to make a decision, obviously, in the update. Do they try to stay with the V8 and try to figure out a way to make it more fuel efficient? Or do they go with a smaller displacement engine, similar to what the Ford has done with the turbo? When the turbos first came out, and I'm speaking of the Ford EcoBoost, I really had kind of mixed feelings about it, because I thought, well, there's no way that, longevity wise it's going to be as reliable as what the naturally aspirated engines would be. And in the very beginning, that was probably true. Over a period of time, I've seen reviews where they say that actually the EcoBoost is basically, it's a more proven engine than the 5-liter is that they have. And so, with that, kind of makes sense. Think about diesel trucks. They've been using turbos for many years. Now, in the beginning, and I'm going to speak back in like late 80s, early 90s, they came out with some turbos on some vehicles that weren't proven. They did fail. But obviously they've had a lot of time to produce those. Speaking of the V6 twin turbo, one of the things that I really like about the V6 twin turbo they're putting into the Tundra is that it doesn't take a long time to spool up like most turbos would. So that's definitely an improvement. It seems like whenever you step on the gas, the power's there. You don't have to wait for anything. The only time I ever really notice anything as far as, it feels like the turbos are spooling up is when you first, like say you're at a dead stop and you go to take off. It takes a split second there and you can feel it. Seems like the engine almost hesitates a little bit, but as soon as it does, it takes off and everything is so effortless. So anyway, I truly love the power. I think it's number one, it's far more fuel efficient, but number two, it definitely has more power than the V8 did as well. The second thing that people talk about is tow hooks. Yes, it doesn't have tow hooks. There is a reason for that. They have an active air dam that helps make the truck more fuel efficient. So over 37 miles per hour, there's an air dam in the front that does lower down and obviously makes it more fuel efficient. Toyota has been using air dams, not active, but has been using air dams for many years. And you'll look at, for instance, like if you look at the Tacoma TRD Sport, it has a air dam in the front that the TRD Off-Road doesn't have. They do that for a couple different reasons. They're trying to make the truck a little more fuel efficient, but also they're trying to make it where on the TRD Off-Road, because it's going to be more off-road specific, they're trying to give it more your entry level. Has better angle or pitch angle, if you want to call it. So it makes it easier, like if you come up to say you're going over rocks, or saying you're coming up to a steep hill, your entrance and your departure angle is much better. So like I said, it's not something new. They've been using it for a long time. Tim from Pickup Trucks Plus just did a review not long ago, and in that review he talked about a new Lexus SUV that they was testing out. It shares the same TNGA-F platform that the Tundra does, and he showed where they actually have tow hooks on there. So I'm sure that in the near future, Toyota will either come out with something, or there will definitely be some aftermarket companies that come out with that as well. Now, how many people are truly using this for specific off-roading? Probably a very small margin. I mean, you think about your day-to-day use. I've had four-wheel drives for, gosh, I don't know, 30 years, and I can only think of one time I've ever used tow hooks. So is it something that's a huge deal? No, really not. But for those people who are typically going to use it for the off-roading purpose, they are typically going to modify their truck to begin with. So look at all the Tacomas out there that have, you know, larger tires, and they put a winch. Jeeps, how many Jeeps do you see with aftermarket tow hooks? So people are always modifying those types of vehicles anyway. So to sit there and complain about not having tow hooks, I honestly don't think it's that big a deal. The other thing that we talk about, you know, I mentioned this in a video earlier, fake engine noise. People don't like the idea, number one, that it's V6 instead of the V8, but then the second thing is they get upset because they're putting in augmented noise. Well, I've been told after one of the videos that I posted that it's really not fake noise. What it is called ESC, engine noise, or excuse me, ENE, engine noise enhancement. So basically what they're doing, when you have the JBL audio system, they are enhancing that motor noise, and it's not fake. It is the actual engine noise, but they're actually running it through the speaker system. If you take a naturally aspirated 3.5 liter V6, it has a roar to it. And so when we hear it through the system, through the audio system, yes, it is enhanced, but it's truly there to begin with. And so, you know, that's one of the things that I think that kind of goes back to the muscle car era. You know, people in their mind, they think of, okay, the roar of the engine, that must be power. And I think that's the biggest reason that they've done that, is that, you know, people are already have this apprehension about going from the V8 to the V6. So if you can make it sound more like a V8, it will probably give them less to talk about. I had a person that had sent me a comment on one of the videos, and I mentioned to him, I said, think of it as like a blind taste test. You know, if we could put people in the vehicle and they couldn't hear the engine noise whatsoever, put them in a V8, put them in the V6 twin turbo, they would pick the V6 twin turbo all day long. But people just have this stigma, and they're basing their decision or their preconceived notion of what it's going to be like, and they couldn't be more wrong. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that I truly love about the truck. Number one, it's one of the smoothest Toyota vehicles we've ever had. When they went to the TNGA platform, and I'm going back a few years, they come out with what they call the Toyota CHR. It had the TNGA platform. It was much more structurally rigid, but one of the things it did really well is it really hugged the road. You could tell when you went around a corner, you didn't have as much body flex and body roll, and it was definitely cornered a lot better. They're going through the TNGA platform to make all the vehicles more structurally rigid. You can see that in the newer models of the Toyota RAV4, the Highlander is the same way. And when they talk about TNGA, Toyota National Global Architecture, what they're doing is they're using that platform on several different vehicles, and so it makes it more cost effective. And so, for instance, in the near future, when they make the 23 and 24 model year change to the 4Runner, the Tacoma, I'm losing my train of thought here, but there was another one that was involved in it too. They're going to share all share the same platform. The Tundra, the Lexus GX, the Land Cruiser, which is not sold in the States anymore, but they all share the same platform as well. And so they're trying to make it where they can do it more cost effective, but they have to have things that will match up with each of these vehicles. Toyota wanted to go with a V8 in the new Tundra to begin with, but because they're using the new TNGA platform, they have to use the V6 to make it sure that it works for all these different models. And they figured out a way to make it more fuel efficient, which is a big deal. They also figured out a way to give it better performance. And so I wish that people would just kind of take a moment and just kind of step back. I know there's going to be haters out there no matter what you do, but if they would just think of it open-minded, drive the vehicle, and then share some thoughts, they would totally think differently about the whole situation. So anyway, enough about those complaints that have been going on. Let me tell you about my experiences here. Performance wise, like I said, it's far superior to what the V8 engine was. It's smooth, it's quiet. That's one of the biggest things, is how quiet it actually is in the cab. I don't know how well you can hear it, if you can hear it at all, but the engine is idling right now. When you're out on the highway, you do hear a little bit of road noise, but you hear virtually no engine noise whatsoever. People talk about, you know, the enhanced engine noise. Well, that's when you're accelerating hard, that's when you're going to hear that noise. But when you get out on the highway and you're actually idling, or not idling, but at cruising speed, it doesn't have that noise that we talked about. Technology. The technology is far superior to the 2021 model Tundra. Give you an example. So in this one, they have what they call Safety Sense 2.5. The 2021 Tundra had Safety Sense 2.0. So with that, they've incorporated pedestrian detection low light. So the 21 Tundra didn't have that. They also have road sign assistance. So it can read 3 different road signs, and that's your camera up there. It can read stop signs, it can read speed limit signs, it can also read caution signs. You have lane departure, and that's one of the things I'm not quite sure why they did it that way. But the lane departure now, prior, you used to have the ability to turn it off. Well, you can't turn this one off anymore. It will give you a notification letting you know that you've gone over the line. Now, you can do it 2 different ways with the new 22 Tundra. You can either do it by audible noise, and that would be your beep, or you can set it up with vibration through the steering wheel. So I just set mine to vibration on the steering wheel, and the thing about it is that once you get to the edge of the line, it's going to kind of push you back in the right direction. So you're not going over the line near as much as what you normally would, because it is giving some assistance there. They also have a second feature, and that's part of the Safety Sense 2.5, is the lane centering. And so lane center, once you get close to the line, it does kind of push you back over towards the middle of the lane. And the 22 Tundra wants to drive straight. You'll notice that as you go around curves, or if you're turning a corner or something, you'll feel the steering stiffen up. And that in itself, like I said, it tries to keep you going straight. And so it's so much easier. I could just imagine on a long trip, it would be less exhausting driving the 22 versus the 21 model. Back to technology, cameras. So obviously in 2008,